Good afternoon and welcome to the Ann Arbor News Lunch Break. I'm sports editor Pete Bigelow. Today's Friday, December 21st. Talking this morning with sports columnist Jim Carty about the news that Michigan football coach Rich Rodriguez has fired all of Lloyd Carr's assistant coaches from last year. Jim, what was your first reaction to that news this morning?
I think I was shocked. I don't think anyone expected that the majority of Lloyd Carr's coaches would be kept, but it's fairly standard operating procedure for a new coach to keep one or two assistants so he knows who the kids are and maybe why they did certain things and how they did certain things. So I think most people expected a partial house cleaning, but most people thought one or two guys would probably be asked to continue on. I mean, they are a good coaching staff. They have had a lot of success over the last 10 years. And yeah, I think a complete and utter house cleaning was not what people expected and was fairly shocking, especially around here, a place that really hasn't had this kind of change in 40 years, I mean, since Bo Schembechler was hired. So, this would be surprising, I think, at most programs, but at Michigan, it's pretty shocking.
What is the impact something like this has on recruiting?
I think it has a big impact on recruiting. It has a big impact on recruiting now and on down the road because Carr's staff has been together for the most part and in place for a long time, and they have deep, deep roots within the Michigan and Ohio high school communities. I mean, they know all of the high school coaches in Michigan and Ohio intimately, and Rich Rodriguez's guys they just can't recreate those relationships right from the bat. And so there's that, and then there's also this year's recruiting class. These kids, for the most part, know Michigan's current coaching staff. They don't know Michigan's previous new staff, rather, and that means that some of them will look elsewhere. One of them, probably one of the most highly recruited kids, Sam McGuffey, a Texas running back, had said that if running backs coach Fred Jackson was not retained, he would probably reopen his recruitment, and that will drive some of the recruitniks in the fan base crazy because McGuffey is a very special player. He's been all over YouTube, which has people fired up, and if he goes somewhere else, there will be some weeping, and it'll be probably the first rocks thrown at Mr. Rodriguez.
In the long run, is it a big deal to lose a couple of recruits like that because of something like this, or is this common with every coaching change you see?
Well, a big change is common, and what you often see is a guy come in and keep one or two assistants, and sometimes they only stay a year. They just find that it doesn't fit, but does it matter in the long run? It's interesting. I've seen these decisions sort of become the things that fans talk about until a coach has success, and it's one of these things that until Rich Rodriguez really establishes the program and wins on his own, people will take shots at him over things like this. They'll accuse him of sort of throwing the tradition out the window for no good reason. But winning solves everything. And if 2 or 3 years from now Rich Rodriguez is playing for the national title, no one's going to be mourning the loss of Andy Moeller and Scott Stripling and Ron English, even though they're good coaches and good guys.
You mentioned the fact that Carr had deep roots in Michigan and Ohio. Does firing the assistants turn those hostile toward Rodriguez, or is it just a matter of him taking the time to build those relationships on his own?
Well, that's very hard to tell. There are some cases where some high school coaches will be so close to an assistant coach or so close to Lloyd Carr that, they probably will hold Rich Rodriguez and his assistants at arm's length for a little while. But, ultimately this is the University of Michigan. Ultimately it offers a great combination of athletics and academics for players. And I think high school coaches and parents want the best experience they can get for their kids, and so I think that just out of sort of selfish motivations, if you're being offered a scholarship by Michigan, you have to take that very seriously and be somewhat intrigued by that, whether you have a close relationship with the head coach or the coaching staff.
All right, Jim, thanks for joining us this morning. For all the updates on the Michigan assistant coaching jobs and how Rich Rodriguez fills his staff, check mlive.com/Wolverines. Thanks for joining us today.